Howdy, guys, and welcome to Cliff Notes, and welcome to a recap of the Challenge Ride or Dies episode number 3. Another exciting episode. Before we talk about what happened tonight, let's talk about what happened last week. If you recall, we lost last week from the Elimination Arena. Turbo and Tamara got sent home. Didn't really seem like anyone was crying any tears over the two of these leaving the complex. They had everyone, in fact, working against them. Horatio and Olivia were on the other side of the elimination, had everyone helping them out. Turbo and Tamara went home. Now, in addition to losing a team, we actually gained 2 teams as well. We gained Casey and her brother, came back from a COVID exposure. Didn't take long for them to get back, so Casey and Kenny are back in the game. And at the very end of the episode, TJ introduced a new surprise team that would be competing this season. Jordan and we didn't know until tonight's episode, but it's Jordan and Anissa. Yeah, Anissa's back as well. Welcome to both of them. Long history from both of these players. Don't know that they've worked as a duo necessarily before, but they're working as a duo this season, so that'll be a lot of fun. In fact, it could be rather interesting because Tori, who's playing the game, her ride or die is Devin. Tori's already in the house, and she and Anissa are best friends. That's a good part. Less good part of the fact that Tori and Jordan are former exes. I think they were together for a couple of years, if I recall. But certainly had a relationship outside the house. They're exes. It didn't sound like it ended that well. Well, now they're both in the house together. So yeah, that could be very interesting. And just to add a little extra wrinkle to it as well, right after Tori and Jordan broke up, Tori may have had a little hookup with Fessy during the next season of the challenge as well, just to make it a little bit more interesting. So with that being said, let the drama begin. It'll be fun watching all of them interacting inside the house. All right, so we've got that. Now, as we get into the episode, one of the first things we've got are Tommy and Sis talking about the fact of the stigma of being a Big Brother player playing in the challenge. It's kind of a double-edged sword. Them talking about the fact that certainly they're expected, or there's people that are suspicious of them because there's so much betrayals, backstabbing, etc. in Big Brother. But potentially there could be some numbers that go along with it as well. But Tommy and Sis certainly do understand that being part of the Big Brother group adds an extra element to the game in terms of strategy and people who may trust them, who may not, etc. So we've got that. We also have Horatio talking about his victory over Turbo last week, and he's mentioning a double-edged sword of his own. He's talking about the fact that they beat Turbo, and Turbo was a beast of a player from a competition standpoint. He's saying the fact that we beat Turbo should gain us a lot of respect, but on the other hand, it probably has put a big target on our backs as well. Well, that's certainly the case. The vets are certainly seeing Horatio and Olivia as one of the stronger rookie newbie teams of the season. So yeah, it has created a target on their back, but you know, no one wants to go up against them either. So we'll see how that works out. Now we do have Bananas filling Jordan in once they get back to the house, because again, Jordan and Anissa haven't seen what's happened so far. So Bananas, who's been here all of 1 week himself, but Bananas is filling in Jordan, saying, look, the rookies are tight. You had Johnny and Raven in the first week that won the daily challenge. Then you had Horatio and Olivia won a challenge as well. He's saying there's some rookie teams that are very strong in this race, and it's helping pull the rookies together to take shots against a vet. So he's saying we got to be careful. We've got to work together. You knew Bananas was going to do that, right? That he was going to do everything he could to get the vets working together for as long as possible. So he's warning Jordan about that. We also have a little discussion between Raven and Johnny and Nuris, still trying to figure out this messy situation, because Johnny's ride or die is Raven. And apparently, according to Raven, they had talked about while they were in the house that they would develop their relationship to some degree. But instead, when Johnny got in, he developed a romantic interest in Nuris instead. And so Raven and Nelson, who is Nuris's ride or die, kind of feeling like third and fourth wheels, I suppose, in the equation to some degree. But you've got Raven and Johnny and Norris talking about it, and Norris is putting the best foot forward, saying, look, I've got a romantic interest in Johnny. His ride or die is supposedly his best friend in Raven, so why wouldn't I want to be friends with her? Theoretically, that could create two teams with very strong bonds with each other if they can get past the jealousy elements. We'll see if that happens as we go forward into the games. All right, we also have another interesting. We have a little discussion with Fessy, and Fessy's talking about the fact that he's known from Big Brother and elsewhere. He's known as Fessy, but that his actual name is Faisal, and he just went by Fessy. That was short, Fess, and then it turned into Fessy as he's a kid, and he's just never really corrected people. But he wants to do a little bit more to represent his Muslim heritage, and so he's going by Faisal instead this season. And so I'm going to try to follow along. I'm going to refer to him as Faisal as well. So keep that in mind as we go forward. But hey, more power to you. I'm fine with that, Faisal. So he mentions that, and right after that, we've got Bananas pointing out that Faisal has certainly been the ladies' man inside. Now, remember, there was already this little mention from Tori about the fact that she and Faisal had hooked up right after she broke up with Jordan. Well, Faisal's been a little busy in the Big Brother house, inside the challenge house as well this season. Bananas is pointing out 3 or 4 people, women that Faisal at least did a little cuddling with. More, who knows, but at least a little cuddling, a little flirting with. And so he certainly is a bit of the ladies' man for this season. Does that create bonds? Does that create protections for you? Or does it just lead itself to some people getting a little upset with you somewhere down the road and really making yourself a bigger target? It seems like a dangerous proposition to me, but Faisal, at least he's having fun while he's playing the game, right? All right. With that being said, we're on to the first challenge competition. It's called Build Me Up. This is another tough one. Kind of an endurance cardio type competition. It's running 2 heats, and in each heat, each duo team has to run to the end of a course. There's 6 barrels down there. They have to grab each of the barrels, look like they have big old heavy oak barrels or wood barrels. One at a time, the team has to grab a barrel, carry it to the first station, go back, get the next barrel, bring it to the next station. Once they've carried all 6 barrels to the first station, stack them up so that one of the 2 partners can jump up on the top barrel, hit a button, set off a flare at the top of the station. At that point, knock all the barrels down, carrying them 1 barrel at a time. They then have to carry them all to the next station, rebuild it, hit another flare, repeat it for a 3rd station, and then carry these barrels to the finish line, stack them up past the finish line. Whoever does that the fastest in each of the 2 heats wins that heat. And then whoever has the fastest time overall is the winner of this competition. It's a long course. I'm going to say 100 yards, maybe longer now, 200 yards, somewhere along there. A lot of running, a lot of carrying very heavy barrels as well. So we start off with the first heat, and really, it's not that close. Faisal and Mariah really dominate the first round. They're just handling those barrels better than anyone else. They finish up way ahead of everyone else. Unfortunately, Tommy and Sis, my BB21 family, basically finished at the end, the very last. This was not their challenge. So Faisal and Mariah have won the first round. The second round, a little bit closer competition. We've got Johnny and Raven doing well, but we also have Horatia and Olivia that are right behind them, more or less neck and neck. 2 different rookie duos that are fighting it out for this last little bit of the competition. And as it turns out, the winner at the end of this round is Raven and Johnny. Now, Raven and Johnny won the very first episode's challenge. And so they've already have 1 win under their belt. They've now won this heat. The big question is, have they won the overall time over Faisal and Mariah? If so, rookies are taking charge. They potentially can go after more vets this particular episode or this particular week. If they haven't won, though, and it's Faisal instead, Faisal and Mariah, then just the opposite. They're the vet team. They can go after the rookies. So a lot riding on who had the best time between the two. And it turns out that the winner of the Build Me Up competition this season is Faisal and Mariah. Yeah, congratulations, guys. They won the challenge. They now have all the power in the house. We'll see what they do with it. We'll see where they go. So they have to nominate 4 duos for interrogation. Now, Tommy and Sis, when they start seeing Tommy and Sis, when I start seeing them talking so much, getting so much airtime, always makes me a little bit nervous that something's getting ready to happen. And then I see how poorly they're getting around, how poorly they did in this challenge. And it does make me wonder if they're at a bit of a threat this week. But Faisal and Mariah, Faisal, he's a big brother player. Tommy and Sis are big brother players. Is the bond strong enough to maybe protect Tommy and Sis this week? We're going to find out. Well, as it turns out, we have Faisal. At first, he's talking about saying he doesn't want to put up. He and Mariah are talking about who they want to bring in for interrogation. You remember this season, they pick 4 duos to bring in for interrogation. Of those 4, then they'll eventually pick one of those 4 to go into the elimination arena. And then one of the other 3, just kind of a random draw. We'll talk about it a little bit, but one of the other 3 ends up in the arena as well. So Faisal's talking about who he wants to bring in for interrogation and potentially send to the elimination arena. He's saying that he really wants to he does not want to put up people who are strong, because if they're strong and then they win later, they'll come after Faisal and Mariah. So he wants to try to avoid that. But I think he's really referring more to the vets than just strong overall, based on who eventually put up. But he also says that he really wants to do favors for people, as in not put them up and not expose them potential elimination. He's saying if we do favors for people who are strong players who have a chance to win week in, week out, that hopefully they'll return the favor. They'll do us a solid if they ever win a challenge. When they're sitting in this seat, then they'll protect us a little bit as well. So Faisal wants to really do whatever he can to make sure that he garners some credit, some favors with some other dominant teams that he can cash in later. That seems like that's his primary thinking. We then see who the 4 couples are that Mariah and Faisal have picked for interrogation. And it is the following 4 duos. Tommy and Sis. Yeah, the big brother connection didn't save them this week. Tommy and Sis. Raven and Johnny, strong rookie players. Olivia and Horatio, another strong duo. And Colleen and Kim, our duo from Germany. You notice something about all 4 of those teams? That all 4 of them are rookie groups, not a vet amongst them. So Faisal very much is rolling his dice, throwing in with the vets. It's his 4th season, no surprise there. But certainly he's not going to get any of the vets upset with him this week. And I'm sure he's thinking that because of that, somewhere down the road, when they have to make some picks, hopefully they leave Faisal and Mariah alone. So we've got our 4 couples that are picked for interrogation, and now they actually come in one duo at a time to try to beg and plead, strategize, convince, say whatever they can to try to convince Faisal and Mariah not to pick them as the primary duo going into the elimination arena. We have Colleen and Kim that are in there talking. Colleen is suggesting that hopefully Faisal, apparently there's a little flirting going on with Faisal and Colleen. So she's saying, maybe you just picked us as kind of a safety pick. In Big Brother terms, we'd call it a pawn. Of course, pawns go home, right? But she's saying, hopefully you just kind of picked us as a safety pick and we aren't your primary target. I hope so. And Faisal's saying, I don't know that I really want y'all to go home right now. So, we'll see. We've got Horatio and Olivia that are basically suggesting that maybe they should go after bigger threats. Well, Horatio and Olivia are pretty big threats, but they're saying, hey, there easily could be bigger threats. There's all these vets in the house that are much stronger threats than we are. Well, that's true, but the last thing Faisal wants to do is upset the apple cart and get a lot of vets mad at him this early in the season. Tommy and Sis are saying, look, there's so many reasons that it was probably a mistake to bring us in. At the end of the day, we are absolute numbers for you. We've got the Big Brother connection. Yeah, you didn't really, it wasn't a deal for you picking us, but going forward, we want to work with y'all. We absolutely are aligned with y'all. Sending us in the arena would be the worst mistake you could make because you're losing members. And so they're really selling them on the strategy side of it. And then Raven and Johnny come in, and Johnny's saying that, look, if you Faisal and you Mariah, if y'all can save us this week, eventually we're going to be sitting in those chairs. And if you'll save us this week, then we'll consider doing the same thing when we're in the chairs and y'all are sitting over here. I get what he's saying, and it's not a bad argument, but the way Johnny said it, it sounded just a little bit like a bit of a threat built into a strategy suggestion as well. And it seems, looking at Faisal's face, maybe he took that as well. But we'll see. It's a valid situation. Again, Johnny and Raven won the first week. They almost won this week. So there's something to be said for protection from one against the other. But again, if we're going to have another season of vets versus rookies, then Faisal may get a lot of goodwill from all the vets if he does anything possible to get some of the stronger rookie teams out while he's got a chance. He's got to be thinking that in the back of his head as well. So we've got the 4 interrogations. We do have at this point then talking about who actually talking about who Faisal and Mariah talking about, all right, we've had interrogations. Who do we actually need to send into the elimination arena and potentially send home? And Faisal is suggesting that really they should go after one of the bigger newbie threats. That Colleen and Kim, well, not that big a deal. But Tommy and Sis, certainly not that big a deal. He's saying, really, we ought to be looking at either Johnny and Raven or Horatio and Olivia. They're the strongest of the rookie teams. They're the strongest ones that we brought in. Why wouldn't we try to go ahead and get rid of them, one of them, while we could? So that's what Faisal's thinking is going into the elimination arena. Now, before we actually have the elimination take place, of course, we have our night out at the pseudo nightclub with the talking, the conversation, and things like that. There's some of these nights where it seems like everyone's just hanging out, having fun, waiting for elimination. Others where there's some pretty serious discussions taking place, and that's what's happening in this particular evening in the nightclub. We start off with Tommy and Sis talking to Colleen and Kim, suggesting that, hey, we don't have anything yet. We've never really interacted with each other, but we don't have anything against y'all. Don't think y'all have got anything against us. Why couldn't we work together? Not just for right now and this week, but even going forward, why couldn't we work together? But at the end of the day, they're basically agreeing that if either duo, if they both don't get picked to go in the elimination arena, and then if either one of these duos manages to grab the one of the 3 daggers that says safety, which means this season, whoever grabs the safety dagger, that duo is safe, but that duo also gets to pick one of the other 2 couples to protect. So they're safe as well. So whoever grabs the safety dagger is basically picking one of the other 2 couples, one of the other 2 duos to go into the elimination arena and face the couple that was picked by Faisal and Mariah to go in elimination. So they're saying, look, let's do this. We'll promise not to pick y'all, or we'll promise to pick y'all if we get safety, if y'all promise to do the same thing with us. Well, Colleen and Kim are all for this. So yeah, you know, we've sure, it sounds like a great deal, and it is a great deal. The thinking is on this, the way it works, again, Faisal and Mariah pick one duo to go in the elimination. That leaves the other 3 out of the 4 who went to the interrogation room. They each draw a dagger. Whoever draws a safety gets to pick another one. That means with this deal, if you've promised protection to each other, you only have a 1 in 3 chance that you're going to be going into the elimination arena. If you draw the safety dagger, fantastic, you're safe. If the group that you made the deal with draws a safety dagger, well, fantastic, they save you and you're still safe. The third duo, even if they get the safety dagger, maybe they pick you over the other group. So it certainly does help your chances a lot to have an agreement like this in place. I think it's a smart move by Colleen and Kim, smart move by Tommy and Sis. But then we have a little extra layer built into this thing. And this is where maybe some of that big brother ideas and strategy and mistrust comes into play. Because right after this happens, Tommy and Sis make the exact same offer to Horatio and Olivia. And Horatio even says, look, we saw y'all talking to Colleen and Kim in there, you know, didn't y'all make some agreements with them? And Tommy saying, we didn't say anything about that. No, we were talking, but We want to work with y'all. Y'all are the ones we want to work with. We'll save y'all if y'all save us. We need the protection. We can help each other, and they convince them. Horatio and Olivia later. I think it's Olivia saying, "I trust them 100%. I trust them completely." It's a dangerous game to be playing. Now you've got two different duos that you've promised your protection from, and push comes to shove, you may not be able to save both of them. But dangerous game. They're so worried about going into the elimination arena that they're almost overcompensating. They're making too many promises, in my opinion, and it could come back potentially to bite them. So they're maybe purchasing some short-term safety in exchange for problems later on down the road. We'll see how it all plays out. Meanwhile, while we've got some strategy discussions taking place, we've also got some other less strategic type conversations that are taking place. We've got Raven not so happy with Johnny and Nuris about this whole little love triangle, quadrangle, whatever you want to call it. She's basically saying, look, you're kind of disrespecting me. You're kind of making me a laughing stock in this house just by the fact that you and I came in as ride or dies, and now you're hanging out with Nuris. Yeah, you're not really giving me a lot of time, and it's a little bit disrespectful. And Johnny's not really getting it. He's saying, yeah, we're still tight and everything, but she's saying, yeah, but not as tight as you think. And if we go home, it's going to be a lot because of you and everything as well. So she's not feeling great about the way this current situation is set up. I should say there. We also have another little conversation taking place between Tori and Jordan. Tori not really happy that Jordan is in the house either. We've got some relationship drama taking place with the two of those. Tori's talking about how much it hurt, that she feels like Jordan had abandoned her, and that kind of led her to do a lot of things that she's very sorry for. I'm sure that includes the little Fessel interaction as well. They talk about that just a little bit. At the end of it, though, there's a lot of tears, primarily from Tori, but Jordan certainly is getting emotional as well. Eventually, they've made peace. Not made up. I don't know that they're getting back together, although there's a lot of episodes left. But no, I think they've made peace with each other. They're respecting each other. They're both apologizing for the ways things finished up. We see both of them talk to the cameras, basically talk about how great a person the other one is, and they want nothing but the best. So yeah, I was glad. I'm glad that the challenge gave them an opportunity to come together and talk and hash some things out that otherwise perhaps never would have happened. So it was a good conversation. And obviously we didn't see all of it. The part we saw, it seems like they made up, and so that's a good thing. All right. With this, we move on to a little bit later, I guess the next day, as they're preparing for the actual elimination competition later in the evening. But we've got Colleen and Kim talking and figuring out their place in the game, and whether could they be picked to go up for elimination by Fessel and Mariah. Fessel kind of suggested that maybe that wasn't the case, but they're still not real certain about it. So Colleen is going to go find Fessel and basically just kind of sweet talk him. She says, he and I kind of flirted around a little bit. We got a little thing going, so maybe I can talk to him and convince them that we just don't want to be the couple, the duo that's picked to go into the elimination arena. And so she's planning to do that. Well, about the time that she's getting ready to do that, Fessel actually comes into the room and says, what are y'all talking about? Yeah, we're talking about the elimination, Fessel. And so they both ask him, say, can you tell us, do you have anyone in mind of who you're going to put up for the elimination? And Fessel doesn't just come right out and say, y'all aren't getting picked. He's not going to do that. But what he does tell him is says, look, I really don't want y'all going home. He said, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I'm just telling you that y'all aren't going home. That's not my intent. I don't want y'all going home. And they're saying, okay, well, that makes us feel a little bit better. We'd love for you to just come right out and say it, but if you won't, at least that's something. So we appreciate that. And I think they're probably pretty safe on the elimination. But we'll find out when we get to the arena itself. Talk about safe and just how safe you should feel. We then see Horatio talking to the cameras and saying he 100% trusts Tommy and Sis in the little agreement that they've made. Foreshadowing, maybe, perhaps. Yeah, I think there could be a little foreshadowing taking place, because Horatio's trusting Tommy and Sis. 100%. Don't ever trust anyone 100% in these reality games, right? All right, we got Horatio also. Well, he mentions that we also. Well, let's go on to the competition itself. I think that's the next step. We get to the competition. The first thing is they walk in. Everyone gets to see what kind of competition it's going to take place. You may not understand how it works completely, but they at least get to see it. And it looks like it's some type of hall brawl competition, one of my favorite challenges that they've got in the challenge. So we'll talk about that in a second. But first of all, we've got to figure out who's going to be competing in this elimination event this evening. Well, Faisal and Mariah are asked by TJ, say, who's it going to be? Turns out it is Johnny and Raven. Yeah, Johnny and Raven been picked. I can't say I'm completely surprised. We knew that Faisal and Mariah wanted to send one of the stronger newbie teams up and potentially get them out the door. Well, Johnny and Raven certainly fix that particular category. So they've picked Johnny and Raven, which means the other three duos who weren't picked by them each have to draw the dagger to see who is safe, to see who's still at risk. And who grabs the safety dagger? Well, of course, it's Tommy and Sis. Yeah, with all the editing, the foreshadowing, and everything, it just seemed natural that they're going to draw the dagger, which on the positive side means Tommy and Sis are safe. I don't think Tommy and Sis probably want to have anything at all to do with the hall brawl competition. It's probably not their best challenge competition they could be participating in. So they're safe from that. That's the good part. The bad part is they now have to pick between either Horatio and Olivia or Kim and Colleen. Which of those duos are they choosing to save, which means that the other duo is going into the elimination arena? Well, they kind of promised both of those duos that they would save them if they drew the safety dagger. Someone is getting betrayed right now by Tommy and Sis. I know what it's like to be betrayed. Day number 30 at the Big Brother house, Tommy and Sis betrayed me and voted me out instead of Nicole. I remember that. Of course, I also remember having a hand in sending them both out the door as well. So yeah, sometimes karma's a beast, but they're going to have to betray one of the partners that they just agreed to a deal with like the night before. Not so easy for them. They talk about it a little bit. And both of the other duos are so certain that they're the ones that are getting saved. It just doesn't seem like there's any uncertainty on their part. Well, eventually Tommy and Sis announced that they've decided to save Kim and Colleen. Our German duo are safe, so they're going to be grateful to Tommy and Sis. Horatio and Olivia, not quite so grateful at the game that Tommy and Sis have been playing. Yeah, they are rather hot and bothered by the betrayal that they have just they've just been the victim of. They're not happy at all. So what does that mean? It means that we've got Horatio and Olivia are going to be competing against Johnny and Raven in the elimination arena. One of those duos is going home this evening. The two strongest newbie rookie duos are going up against each other. I'm sure the vets all think this is a perfect setup. Faisal, I'm sure he's happy as well. It's what they all would have wanted, I think, at the end of the day. They're going to lose a very strong rookie team. So, yeah, the vets are all happy. Horatio and Olivia, not so much. Johnny and Raven, not so much either. But it is what it is. Tommy and Sis, they're going to have the biggest targets on their backs at this point in time. There is something to be said. Yes, I know, whether it's Big Brother, whether it's Survivor, whether it's a challenge, there's a time and a place for betrayals and backstabbing and promising everything to everyone. That's part of the game. It's a valid part of the game. But this early in the season, to abandon trust and loyalty, I think it's going to be a major issue. This early in the game, going forward, it's going to be hard to get anyone to trust you, no matter what you say. So, yeah, they're safe this week, but I think it's going to be a dangerous situation for Tommy and Sis going forward. But let's talk about the competition itself right now, because as it turns out, it is hall brawl, but with a twist. In most seasons, hall brawl, you either have men going home one week, women the other week. It's one person going home. Not this season. It's duos. It's ride or dies going home. So instead of just a single long hallway for hall brawl, we've got a lower level hallway and an upper level hallway. Nice little twist on it. The way it's going to work is to start the first round. Guys are in the bottom level. When TJ blows a horn, they both run forward. In the center of this hallway is a sliding bar. It can slide horizontally one way or the other. Whoever succeeds in pushing that sliding bar into the other person's zone wins the lower level. Whoever wins the lower level, that means that then the two people on the upper level, the women in the first round, whoever is the partner of the guy who won the lower level, her cage, her door opens up a second earlier than her competitor, which means she gets a head start running to her own sliding bar that's in the middle of the hallway on the upper level. Whoever pushes on that upper level pushes the sliding stick, the sliding bar into the other person's zone first, wins that round. Sounds easy, right? Yeah, a lot of strength involved in this one, and posturing, positioning, everything else. It's a best 2 out of 3 competition, and we're going to start off with the men on the bottom. Round 2, it'd be men on the top. Round 3, it'd be back to men on the bottom. Is how we're going to play this thing. So TJ blows the horn. Horatio and Olivia win round 1, and they're looking pretty strong. Horatio, he's a professional soccer player, so it shouldn't surprise anyone, but he's got a lot of strength in him, and it's not easy. It's a bit of a stalemate between him and Johnny, but eventually he works his way back. He scores first. Olivia, who was on Love Island, and you wouldn't really, I'm sure there's a lot of people, myself included, who have underestimated her from a strength competitive standpoint. But she did a pretty good job against Raven. She somewhat manhandled Raven. They were making fun of the fact she pushed so hard. She pushed Raven right out of one of her shoes. So they've won round 1. It's on to round 2. Now the women are on the bottom. Olivia wins again against Raven, which gives Horatio a 1 second head start on the upper level. And it looks like Horatio's moving the bar against Johnny. But Johnny pulls up some inner strength. And just when it's looking like he may lose this thing, he manages to push back the other direction. He pushes it into Horatio's zone. Johnny and Raven have won round 2. That's an exciting competition. So it all comes down to a final round with the men once again on the bottom. We see that as soon as TJ blows the horn, they take off down the hallway. Unfortunately, Johnny slips as he's making his way towards the sliding bar, but he does recover. They hit a bit of a stalemate on this round. They're both pushing. They're giving it everything they've got. Their life's on the line on this thing, and you can tell by the way they're playing. But eventually, Horatio wins by a little bit. He just basically forces Johnny down eventually, pushes the bar into that side. Olivia gets therefore a 1 second head start up on the upper hallway. That's all she needs. She hits that sliding bar so fast that by the time she's hit it, she's got the momentum that when Raven comes up and grabs hold of the bar, it's already over. She's like a Mack truck speeding down that hallway, pushes Raven back. Really, Raven isn't able to offer any resistance at all. Olivia, she turned into a beast on the competition side. Her face, everything. She has come to play. She's not just a love interest from Love Island. She has come to play, and unfortunately, Raven and Johnny are paying the price of that because Horatio and Olivia have won. Johnny and Raven are going home. Strong newbie team that's heading out the door. I kind of hate to see it because they won the first week. They were willing to take the shot at the vets. There's probably a lot of people who would have him-hawed around and maybe done something differently. No, they took the shot across the bow and did what they could. And so, yeah, kind of hate to see him go, but they put up a good fight. Horatio and Olivia I think they were more determined in this particular competition. So Olivia and Horatio have survived. Tommy and Sis are in trouble because they now have 2 incredibly competitive enemies in the house that are not going to trust them and are probably going to do whatever they can to target them as soon as possible, and are going to do whatever they can to get other people to target them. So Tommy and Sis have some damage control to do going forward. And so, yeah, it's John. So Johnny and Raven are leaving. We've got the Licia and Horatio saved. Tommy and Sis a little bit nervous. So we'll see how it all pans out next week. But before we do that, one more twist from TJ. Yet another new team coming in to join the house to play starting next week. We see him walk into the arena. Don't know who it is. It looks like a larger guy, but they're covered by coats. We don't know. And I haven't seen spoilers or anything else to suggest who it is. And I'm not going to go look for it. I'll just wait till next week. We'll find out. But we do have another team joining the crowd. Well, every time we lose a team, we get a new one. This season may just last until well into 2023 at this point. But I'm excited to see who it's going to be. But again, it has to wait till next week. It was a fun episode. I hate to see Johnny and Raven go, but it is what it is. Congrats to Horatio and Olivia. And let's see if Tommy and Sis can work some of that big brother political work and make something happen and do some damage control. Guys, y'all have a fantastic week. I'll be back again next week to give you a recap of the next episode. Until then, SKD 143. Cheers, my friends. Bye.